Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It's so beautiful outside. I love these summer days. I hope you're doing really well. It's just a roller coaster ride with breast cancer. It doesn't matter where you are in your journey, it's just always a roller coaster, isn't it? I'm going to add Marty here. I hope that you're at the top of your roller coaster ride. um, to give you some strength while you're going through. Hey, Marty, how are
Hello,
you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Um, I'm just saying that it's always a roller coaster ride with breast cancer. It doesn't matter if you're just like brand new diagnosed. Yeah, that is definitely, that's maybe the loop de loop because you have no idea what's coming. But
Yeah,
even like where I am right now, I'm in surveillance. I have to make it another year to make my 3-year mark with triple negative. Um, and then I'll probably be good. Um, but the hard thing is when you lose friends and and we've lost Cindy. Some of you have known her and were close to her. Um, it just hits really, really, it hits home, right?
for sure.
She, she was beautiful, beautiful person, and she was at our very first Pink Sync event, and I know that she connected with a lot of you. And I wanted to let you guys know that her funeral is on Friday. It's in Spanish Fork, and I believe it starts at 11 o'clock. And I'll put the information in the comments. And I'm going to be there, and I'm going to wear pink. And if any of you guys can make it, wear pink and show support that she's one of us and she doesn't fight alone and that she is loved. She continues to be loved. Anyway, I feel like personally, I'm just one person that is affected by breast cancer. Sorry, I'm so emotional, but I'm just going to try to do what I can to help us all feel like we belong
Yeah,
and that we're a community and that we can help each other through this. Oh gosh. And we'll sync up and swim together, right, Marty?
yeah, yeah.
Should have kept the Kleenex with me. So, yeah, it's a roller coaster. Breast cancer is a roller coaster. It doesn't matter where you are. And sometimes you think, oh, I haven't thought about breast cancer for days, or maybe you get to the point where it's weeks or months. I don't know, but it's just kind of always there.
Hmm.
It's always underneath. And yeah, it's hard.
Yeah,
Okay. Please let us know if you knew Cindy. Put a comment in and let me know if you're going to be at the funeral. I'll be there. And I'd love to see you guys there. Pink Sink is sending flowers. Um, and just know that even though we don't know you all personally, I mean, we have a whole bunch of people in our Pink Zinc community, which is awesome. And I hope that you're supporting each other and helping each other. But just know that you are valued and you're loved and you make a difference. And we love you. And that's why we have this Pink Sink, is so that we can help each other and know that we're not on our own. Nobody's alone. And with it you that said something about how isolation during trauma is like the worst? I heard that somewhere recently. If it wasn't you, it was somebody like you, Marti.
Yeah. I don't know if I said that or not, but I agree with it.
Yeah, it's so true. And sometimes when we're hit with trauma, sometimes we just want to hunker down and disappear and be on our own. And that's not healthy.
Well, I would actually suggest that isolation is part of what makes it traumatizing.
Yeah.
That if something difficult happens and you're doing it with other people, it's less likely to become a trauma
Interesting. Yeah.
because it's not in the event itself. Whether or not something becomes trauma is how we process it or don't process it.
Mm.
And so if we stay isolated, it's more likely to be traumatic.
Yeah. I like that. And maybe that's why our culture has these different rituals or things that we do around potentially traumatizing situations, right? Like we
Mm-hmm.
gather when someone passes away, we gather together and support each other and go through that together.
Yeah. Yeah,
Healthier that way.
definitely.
Okay, Marti, help us deal with this roller coaster of breast cancer, and I'm going to try to get under
Yeah.
control.
Um, so in your text, you had mentioned that, the passing of somebody in our community, it brings up a lot of stuff, right? Because there's a lot of our sisters that are stage 4. There's a lot of our sisters that they basically feel like they're facing down death. And
Yeah.
even if you're not stage 4, like you can't help, no matter what stage you are, as soon as somebody says the C word, like you feel like you're facing death, right? You hope to beat it. You hope to be around for a long time, but you are still facing death in a way that you never were before,
Right.
right? And so while I was thinking about that, there's I guess, kind of an analogy that came to mind. When my daughter was little, her room, like all kids have different personalities, right? Her room would get spectacularly messy. Like just an even coat of things all over the whole floor, right? And if I told her, go clean your room, that was overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so I had to do things to break it down. Like sometimes I'd go in and do like the scoop my foot, clear a path thing. And I'd basically make 4 quadrants. And I'd be like, okay, go tidy that corner. Now I'll clean that corner. Or break it into categories. Okay, just pick up the clothes. Go through and just pick up the clothes. Okay, awesome. Now go through and pick up everything that is paper somehow, books or notebooks or whatever. You know what I mean? And so with that roller coaster that you're facing, with the way things get brought up, you could say, okay, I'm dealing with death and it's bringing up so much emotion. Well, it's actually really helpful to break it down because it's not just one thing. That's like a whole umbrella, right? And so if you're able to look at it and go, okay, what am I actually afraid of? Am I personally afraid of dying? Yes or no? For a lot of people, especially religious folks that believe in an afterlife, we're not afraid for ourselves. We're afraid for who we're leaving
Right.
behind. So, okay, you're afraid for who you're leaving behind. Well, what is it about that is upsetting you? And, break it down by person if you need to. Really thinking through it can seem like an uncomfortable thing because we try to avoid that stuff, right? But if you really think about it, okay, I'm afraid for Scarlett. She's going to be sad. She's going to grow up without a mom. Like, think through it. What can you leave for her? What conversations can you have with her? And so often when we are feeling fearful, it's irrational, especially if you don't verbalize it. You can be sitting there with like some crazy image in your mind of like Scarlett falling apart and she doesn't lead a functional life and she can't live without her mom, which actually isn't true, right? She loves you, she needs you, but she wouldn't be on her own. She wouldn't fall apart. Do you know what I mean? So actually thinking through what it is that's upsetting to us, dissecting it can be a good word to use. Dissect it. Ask it questions. Why does this bother me? Why am I scared of this? Because if you go through it instead of avoiding it, what usually happens is that you find out that it was taking up more space than it deserved, and that it was looking and feeling scarier than it really is. And like taking the time to face it and to take it apart, it's still real, it's still valid, but you're going to find out that it didn't deserve like all that energy. Like when we don't face a fear, it kind of builds steam, and it's like that snowball, that snowball rolling down the mountain. It starts little, and as it goes down, it just gets bigger and bigger. That proverbial like snowball rolling down the mountain, it gathers steam, and it gets yuckier and yuckier and yuckier the longer you leave it in there without really taking it apart. And it can seem scary and like something that you want to avoid, but if you'll dig in and dissect it, like then, okay, well, that is yucky, but I can deal with the clothes on the floor. Okay, that is scary, but I can go through and pick up all the pens. And it becomes more manageable than when you leave it like this big unnamed blob.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, and I think going through it, I I think you've touched on some really pertinent things to me because I mean, watching Cindy decline over the past couple of weeks, her brother and sister-in-law are my neighbors, and so I've kind of been connected a
Yeah.
little bit as gone through the last few months, and um, there's just so many little aspects of that have hit me, you know, just lots of little, you know, that's not fair, and her kids are too young, and all these things. And then, you know, it brings my future up in my,
Mhm.
like, you know, is that going to happen to me? And like you said, if I sit down and kind of verbalize or identify the different pieces of that are causing me grief, then yeah, I can deal with it and I
Mhm.
fix it. I mean, Cindy did pass away and she did leave her family. Um, that's not going to change. That's there, but
Yeah.
maybe going through it, I can kind of identify what is happening and my feelings about it. And not that I can fix it, but identifying it makes it like naming the beast,
Yes.
right? Like, why is
Yes.
this so big in my mind? And naming the beast will help me tame it. Naming the
Yes.
beast will help me tame it a little
It
bit. But
will. It will.
part
It
of
will.
part of this beast is that this is going to happen again, right? Like, have, you know, whether to me or to another sister, we are on this train together, and it's life too, right? But
Yeah.
I don't want to minimize it. This is a kind of a special train that we're on, and I'm gonna probably have to deal with this again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think taming this beast is probably helpful, and
Yeah.
maybe I could just pick up books off of the floor or pick up the clothes, and identify that there are clothes and there are books and there
Yeah. Yeah.
identify the different pieces and dealing
And
with it.
can I also make a suggestion from something that you just said?
Yeah.
Um, it's not fair is one of the most poisonous things we can think. We tend to look at like lack of forgiveness, like we can recognize if I can't forgive, that's harming me. We can look at being obsessed with anger as harming ourselves, right?
Yeah.
It's not fair is actually also really self-harm
Interesting.
because then you're resisting reality, you're flailing. That's it's not fair is like an emotional version of like kicking and screaming and flailing. And if you imagine doing that in a small space, all you're doing is hurting yourself if you're kicking and flailing, right? Um, it's not fair is a lie because it just is. Nobody's being punished. Nobody's being picked out. It just is. And so giving energy to the thought and the belief it's not fair only does yourself harm.
Interesting. So how can I change that? Like how can I what was the thing that you taught us last week or last time? It was just like
Yeah,
reframing. How do
reframing.
how do I reframe that?
Um, I mean, acceptance is a big deal, and it takes strength, but it's so healing and it's so helpful. One thing that I would suggest that you start with, like for you to reframe for them could be tricky. Like you can tell yourself, okay, instead of saying it's not fair, the kids are so young, you can say, well, they're going to learn and grow a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But really, in you saying it's not fair, it's still more about you trying to deal with things, and it's how you feel, how things might also turn out for you by watching that. And so, really, like if you are saying to yourself, it's not fair, or some version of it, I would suggest starting with just trying to catch yourself and be like, no, it just is.
Just
It
is.
just is.
Mm. Yeah.
And and instead of giving energy to resenting it or being upset by it, like it's still sad.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we don't still feel, but we don't need to give ourselves unnecessarily strong and negative emotions by
Mm.
feeding a belief like it's not fair. Because it just
Interesting.
is.
Yeah.
Cindy didn't get singled out. Nobody's picking on her. You know, this isn't like some crazy movie where the bad guy is doing sneaky evil things. Like it just is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And acceptance is an amazingly powerfully healing thing. You can still have compassion. You can still show up to that funeral. You can still hug those kids, hug that husband, be there, show up for people. But now you won't have the baggage of this isn't fair that this happened to you. It just is.
Yeah. Okay. That's hard,
It is.
but it's helping us clean that room and heal instead of focusing on, oh, this room is so dirty, I can't possibly clean it, right?
Yeah, yeah. The last thing you need is a bunch of it's not fair Legos sprinkled through that room while you're walking around barefoot, right? All it does is hurt you.
Right. And yeah, yeah, radical acceptance can help us on that path of cleaning up and
Yeah.
healing, right?
And if it's hard, that's one way you know that it's worth it.
Hmm. This is hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a friend in the army, and I got to see, like, if you picture the like the dress uniform for any of the armed forces, and they've always got like all the pins and all the different colors and everything. He showed me his uniform, and that's basic. He called it a wearable resume because those are all different things that he's earned for, for doing this hard thing or for excelling in this or whatever. And so all these hard things that you're being asked to do, like you're building extraordinary character, you're building, you know, you are becoming your wearable resume. You can show up for people in a way that 3 years ago Cami couldn't, right?
Yeah.
So every hard thing that you choose to face instead of hide from, every hard thing that you choose to accept, to move through, to deal with, is like another little pin. You are building you. Every hard thing you face is just an indicator that it's worth it.
That's really beautiful. I don't really want the pins.
I know.
I want this big wearable resume, but you know, I do think that's a beautiful analogy because that's all we have anyway at the end, right? We have our relationships and we have who we have become,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And whatever hard thing that we go through is um, sanding off those rough edges and helping us be a better version of ourselves so that our relationships can be even better, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a beautiful way to reframe it, right? Like nobody wants to be on this roller coaster of breast cancer. Nobody wants to, but I think it's a good way to reframe it of this is going to help me be, it could help me be a better version of myself, right? Maybe not physically,
Yeah.
but who I really am, right? Like I'm not defined by my body and what it can and can't do, but I'm defined by who I am, and I can allow these hard things that come with breast cancer to help me become a better person. And I see that happening in my friends, right? Like it is rough, and I don't think it helps to ignore or what's the word? Just not acknowledge
Yeah.
the hard things that we're going through. I think you're right. Like we have to face them,
Yeah.
and but we can choose to allow that to help us become a better person.
Yes.
So
Yes.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That helps me
Good.
a little bit.
Good.
Yeah. Sometimes I still want to hide, but
I know.
and I think it's okay to have some quiet, private moments. A lot of times I need to. I just need to be by myself and recenter and
Absolutely.
allow myself to heal a little bit. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think we're stronger together and learning
Yes.
together. So that's beautiful. Thank you, Marti. This was great. It's hard. But hopefully this helped you guys like it helped me. I feel like you guys are just kind of listening in on my private therapy sessions sometimes, but I feel like we're in this together.
Yes.
So I'm sure that somebody else can benefit from your wise counsel and your wise words, Marti, and I love it. Okay, I'm going to be at that funeral for Cindy. An amazing person. And if you guys can be there, I will look for you. I'll be wearing pink. And have a wonderful day. Reach out and help somebody else be happy because that will lift you up as well. So we love
True.
you guys. Hang in there.
True.
Bye.
Okay. Love you guys. Bye.